My dear viewers, hello and welcome to a new episode of our program Africa Today. We start with our reports. The Russian President Vladimir Putin on Sunday have promised Moscow's total support for Africa at a conference with African officials in Sochi in southwest Russia. In a speech read out by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, Putin have said that Russia will continue to provide total support to its African friends in different sectors. More in the following report.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia could help countries with sustainable development, the struggle against terrorism and extremism, combating epidemics, food problems and the consequences of natural disasters. Putin was speaking at a Russia-Africa conference in the Russian city of Sochi. The conference, taking place on Saturday and Sunday, comes after two Russia-Africa summits in 2019 and 2023. Russia's foreign minister said his country's relations with Africa have been strengthening more and more, adding that progress is being seen on all axes of cooperation. The conference is another chance for Russia to promote its vision of a multipolar world, a month after it hosted a BRICS summit of major emerging economies. Russia wants to show that Western sanctions aimed at isolating it over its Ukraine offensive have failed. Russia was a major player in Africa in Soviet times and has been growing in influence on the continent in recent years, including with the help of Russian mercenary groups and through large investments in the raw materials sector.
Well, South Africa's border authority said on Saturday it had partially reopened its main crossing with neighbor Mozambique, where last month's disputed election have sparked protests raising safety concerns. More in the following report.
Opposition supporters in Mozambique have been demonstrating against what they say is a fraudulent win by Frelimo, the party that has ruled the southern African country since 1975. South Africa closed the Libombo port of entry in its Mpumalanga province earlier this week after receiving reports of vehicles being torched on the Mozambican side. The Border Management Authority said the port is now open for cargo movement after the Mozambican authorities managed to address challenges with the system to facilitate processing through the Rassano Garcia port of entry into Mozambique. It said in a statement that the initial reopening of the port was to manage the movement of people, adding, quote, "But this morning the Mozambican authorities worked tirelessly to address cargo systems for smooth border processing," end quote. At least 21 people have been killed in Mozambique and scores injured in protests in which demonstrators have burned tires, blocked roads and marched to Frelimo offices. Authorities have responded with tear gas and live ammunition, human rights groups said, and restricted access to the internet.
Well, the Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Russia will continue to provide total support to African countries in different sectors. Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have with us over the phone our dear guest, Her Excellency Ambassador Sou'ad Shalaby, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon, Your Excellency.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Well, Your Excellency, Ambassador Shalaby, how do you weigh the timing of Russia-Africa conference in Sochi?
As you know, the Russia it has been regularly convened in Russia here in order to strengthen the relations between Africa and Russia, because as you know that Russia is an important partner with Africa for several reasons. They have partnership forum. This time it took 2 days to meet all the ministers, ministers of foreign affairs, and the presidents who have attended, and these leaders met for 2 days with Putin, the president of Russia, in order to plan and strategic expansion of political and business ties between Africa and Russia. in this time of the year, Russia has many problems because of the because of the war with Ukraine,
Yes.
and because of the economic problems that are an outcome of for the conflicts that are happening in Africa. All these considerations need the importance of the partnership between Russia and the African countries.
Yes, so Your Excellency Ambassador Shalaby, analysts say that the conference seeks to deepen the ties with African nations and dispel a notion that it's isolated by Western sanctions. So how do you weigh that statement?
Yes, of course, as you know that that Russia is suffering because of the penalties, and the economy of Russia is suffering, but at the same time, because of the war, but at the same time the support between Russia and Africa is giving Putin a big boost in its politics, in the international politics, and it is of course a big political boost for Putin, because he has been talking about sustainable development, struggle against terrorism and extremism. They have been discussing combating epidemics. They have been talking about security, food security, and how to face natural disasters. So all these issues have been discussed between the Russian representatives and the African ministers of foreign affairs.
Yes, so Your Excellency Ambassador Shalaby, during last summer's Russia-Africa summit, the Russian President Vladimir Putin courted leaders from Africa and offered to expand political and business ties. So how have the political and business ties developed since then?
As you know, we are living in a multipolar world, and Africa is a very rich continent, and it has many potentials. It has a lot of development potentials, and all the big powers like the United States, China, Russia, and even Turkey, they hold conferences in order to do partnerships between the business community, between they do the strategic for future development, strategic partnership for developing the countries in the economically.
Yes,
economic. So
yes.
that is why this time this meeting to be very important for the future of business and politics between Russia and the African countries.
Yes, so an advisor to Putin said that the two-day ministerial conference will continue in the same format regularly. How do you do regular meetings of such impact ties between the two entities?
Yes, of course. These meetings deepen the ties, and if it's not regular, then it is going to be one meeting, it's finished. They have to be continuous following up what has happened in the Sochi meeting. For instance, all the recommendations that will take place have to be put up by the representatives from both countries, from both regions, from Africa and from the Russian, with businessmen or government agencies or financial institutions or public and scientific circles. So all this, Russia and its representatives have to follow up with African representatives in order to focus on the development of trade and economic cooperation, to focus on investment opportunities, and of course it needs expansion of the cooperation between BRICS and the African countries who have been attending also the meeting between BRICS in Russia.
Yes.
Between BRICS countries and Russia.
Yes. Your Excellency, Ambassador Shalaby, how can both Africa and Russia benefit from each other's resources?
Of course, both you can benefit bilaterally and multilaterally. So if the African countries are close in partnership with Russia bilaterally, so they can these meetings will be very important in order to boost the bilateral cooperation. Also on the international and regional agenda, there can be consultations, there can be high-level consultations between Vladimir Putin and the presidents of Africa in order to take a strong stance towards the or maybe the negotiations on the international stage. They could enhance the firm stance towards the international agenda, the international problems in United Nations or in the Security Council.
Yes, Your Excellency, Ambassador Shalaby, how do you see the reasons for Russia's moves to strengthen its presence in Africa?
Well, this is the kind of effort that Russia is doing to first of all to host the BRICS summit and to invite the African leaders, and this is one of the efforts that Russia is doing, the focus on the development and the investment issue by inviting the African leaders to Sochi. And this is an important step in the developing cooperation between Russia and Africa. And there are many steps that are taken bilaterally to continue the relations between these two regions.
Yes, Your Excellency, Ambassador Shalaby, how do you see the future of the African-Russian ties?
To follow up with the recommendations that have been done, to continue close ties between the African countries. Also, we have not spoken about the Union. There is also a very important link between Russia and the African Union. Of course, it has to take place in Ababa, where the EU is hosted. The representative of Russia or the minister or the ambassador of Russia in the EU is also playing a big role in boosting the relations between Russia and African businessmen and government agencies.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Sou'ad Shalaby, former Assistant Foreign Minister. I had the pleasure to have this phone with you. Well, Botswana swore in new President Duma Boko Friday, cementing a whirlwind change of government after his landslide election victory last week kicked out the party in power for early 60 years. More in the following report.
Botswana's new president, Duma Boko, 54, took the oath in front of several thousand people in the national stadium just 9 days after his Umbrella for Democratic Change, UDC, crushed the Botswana Democratic Party, BDP, at the ballot box. In his speech, Boko said that for nearly 60 years, the democracy remained unbroken, unproven, and untested. On the 30th of October this year, together, they tested this democracy. He said, quote, "It is with pride and perhaps even a tinge of relief that I can proudly say we have passed this test with flying colors." End quote. Boko's left-leaning UDC won 36 seats in parliament compared to just 4 for the conservative BDP, and a stunning reversal for the party that had ruled diamond-rich Botswana since its independence from Britain in 1966. Former President Mokgweetsi Masisi, who conceded defeat 2 days after the vote as his party's colossal defeat became clear, was in the audience alongside leaders of other southern African countries, including Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Although the crowd booed Masisi, the new president praised his predecessor's statesmanship. Young voters made up about a third of the more than 1 million people registered to vote in the arid and sparsely populated country. Boko has said a priority will be to stabilize relations with partners in the diamond industry while diversifying the economy away from its dependence on the international diamond market.
Well, with this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this episode of our program, Africa Today. My name is Amal Mukhtar. Thank you for watching.